Welcome to the second Kaspa live stream. In this video, we're going to do a very crucial deep dive into research, showcasing all the puzzle pieces put together, from Kasplex to Solana's meteoric rise out of the legacy cryptos, USTD, all of it, the code that it's written on. Putting all these puzzle pieces and data sets together, it's as clear as day. Kaspa is going to get into the top 3. Now, keep in mind, we're still extremely early right now. Kaspa hasn't even entered its final form. We're still at 1 block per second. Once 10 blocks per second comes around, it's an entire new ball game. What's going on, Nico? How you doing? How's the audio, Nico? Can you give me a testing? Can you guys hear everything I'm saying? Is this audio video hooked up? I know right now Kaspa just took a minor dip to the downside. Meanwhile, all the Peach Fuzz Mafia has been like, yeah, we've been buying Kaspa right up through here, 16, 17 cents. Inside our VIP, we've been saying, hold back, it's not time yet. Looking for the exact bottom, of course, not just based on technical analysis, but also fundamental macroeconomics. All right, cool. So Crypto Karen gave us the all good, audio's clear. Let's start diving into this. Kaspa overtaking Ethereum by 2030. In order to get the big picture, we've got to zoom out. Go back in history to when they first started coding crypto. Back in the day, in order to get talented people who have a degree in coding, most of them, they're just going to run right over, work for Facebook, work for Google, code for Apple, get a $250,000 a year, and then they're going to be done with it. So they had to use coding that everybody was coming out of college and trained in. That's why Ethereum is written on a code known as Solidity. Meanwhile, Kaspa right now and Solana already has been transferring over to Rust. The big difference here, Rust works specifically well with cryptos and ASICs. It's extremely faster. Now, here are the disadvantages, and we're going to be able to link these into the articles. With Solidity, every smart guy, every established coder across the world knows it. So many people can build on Ethereum. Right now, Solana is leading the way in these legacy cryptos, having transferred over to Rust, and they're starting to pave the way for Kaspa to gain momentum and driving forward, because now there's more devs that are learning and knowing Rust. But that's just the broad strokes. As we start to zoom in into detail in these articles here, we're going to notice all the fine-tuned pieces that are actually moving behind the scenes. Right now, a lot of them are pushing Solana up, but as we know, Kaspa is going to take their place. Starting off with smart contracts. Kaspa's following in the footsteps of Solana with their smart contracts in terms of they do 2 different kinds. They run one native, and then they're going to run one on the Ethereum blockchain. That's what Solana did starting in, I believe it was March in 2023. As soon as they opened their second type of smart contracts, the price absolutely rocketed. And what they were able to do, we're going to showcase in a minute, was start stealing a ton of volume away from Ethereum. And the way they did this is very simple. Everybody's been hearing, well, Solana's got these meme coins. And because of the meme coins, that's how they're getting all this additional volume. That's only part of the puzzle piece. Because with meme coins comes DEXs, and with DEXs comes stable coins. So the meme coins are just an incentivizer to allow Solana to start to dominate. And that's exactly what they're doing. As we can see in this USTD article, they're starting to take over the daily volume for stablecoins, crushing Ethereum. We can see right here, Solana is doing 63 billion out of 120 billion total. Meanwhile, Ethereum's doing just 26 billion. Now, that's a very niche number because what they're talking about is the active, the money and stable coins that's moving around every day. In fact, Ethereum still holds a lot more USTD and USDC stable coins, but they're just not floating around. And the way that Solana can do this is because it's cheaper. Therefore, it's a lot more profitable to run on these DEXs and to operate in the Solana chain. Kaspa is now starting to get a paved path to pick up stablecoin transactions. Of course, one of the key factors here is transactions per second, the speed that everything's running in. Kaspa right now is only at 1 block per second. Solana, meanwhile, can do 65,000 transactions per second. Once Kaspa is upgraded to 10 blocks per second, it's fairly close to that. It's around 32,000 transactions per second. But here's the kicker. Here's the additional boost. It's the ZK rollup smart contracts. Jonathan Saplinski's hard at work behind the scenes with this new technology, ZK rollups. It's going to change the way smart contracts are doing, boosting the transaction speed even higher. You guys have probably been researching new listing cryptos, particularly layer ones, and they'll come up with these insane transaction speeds. What they're talking about is how fast they're able to process on a ZK rollup. So Kaspa just straight up, almost neck and neck with Solana, fairly close. But once you add on these ZK rollups, it's going to be light speed. Now, another massive strong point for Solana was when they started partnering up with Visa. As soon as there was a rumor around the water cooler that Solana was in with Visa, the price just started to absolutely skyrocket. Kaspa has their foot in the door with the Tangent wallets and MoonPay. Tangent Wallets is already running a bunch of stable coins on very unique chains like Tron. It's very easy for them to switch over and run stablecoins on Kaspa. They're giving a connection into Visa and the credit card system, getting everything ready to start ramping up. Here's all the puzzle pieces put together. We still got to account for Rhubarb Media. This is a company that's teamed up with Ice River right now as we speak. They're going to start doing the Kaspa meme coins very soon. This isn't light years away. Of course, Ice River, they want to team up with them because they're having a hard time selling their miners right now. The hash rate's so high. People are like, these miners are too expensive. Once the meme coins step onto the chain, once they complete the KRC20 inscriptions, let me get a drink of water. These miners' profitability goes through the roof. They've programmed it like that. So the fees are going to start getting kicked back to the mining operators. So even hobbyist miners sitting around at home are going to start making way more cash. Meanwhile, Marathon Digital, they're running loads of Kaspa ASICs right now. Their profitability is going to go through the roof. And when they're making money, they have the seat of power where they can start pulling switchboards, pulling levers, making things happen for Kaspa. And it's really coming down to this team of specialists. We can see all these logos. This is what these guys are trained to do. They didn't graduate college for coding. They graduated college for meme coins. So yes, right now, Solana is winning with their meme coins, and it's allowing them to open up all these different dexes like Pump Fund, okay? The reason why Solana is getting so much traction is because meme coin market, you want to get in and then you definitely want to get out because the gains are very fleeting. Giving Solana a lot more of this daily volume, crushing Ethereum. It's crushing Ethereum. And the thing is, they can run these so much cheaper and so much more profitable. I mean, they're making money hand over fist. In stable coins, this is the biggest bag of the power players, Jane and Jump Street. They own all of the altcoins in the world, all the Bitcoin on exchanges, rephrase. But they also own an equal amount of stable coins because they're providing liquidity. So if you're going to give them a product that makes more money, they will utilize it. Not to mention, it's also much more secure. Solana has been crashing a lot recently, and it's because of this added volume, this added pressure. Yeah, everything's going great with the sales team. Meanwhile, the coders at home are having a hard time keeping up with it. Kaspa can handle the load. It has solved the trilemma. It's able to be scaled. So as Rhubarb Media gets out there and starts launching their meme coins, now we've got a whole new layer of volume on the Kaspa chain. Marathon Digital's happy. They're stirring the pot, wanting this to kick off. And it really all comes down to, remember, we're in a collapsing fiat state right now. Back here, all this cash went into Ethereum. This is the 1-year bond. Utilizing this will give you more of an advantage than any other skill set in crypto, understanding the bond market. How do I know that? Over the past 400 days, this channel, my personal bag, has made more than anybody else just from understanding the bond market and the FOMC meetings. Everybody's seen this Kaspa chart with all of the FOMC meetings on it. Every time there's an FOMC meeting, look at what happens. Starting off back in this summer, Kaspa starts rocketing. It was down at like 1 penny, 2 penny, jumps all the way up to 5. Look at what happened in November. We're so in tune with this, we gave the 10x leverage trade call out 48 hours before this God candle even appeared, knowing the bond market would affect Kaspa dynamically. Right here, open VIP, and just recently, look what happened at the bottom of this inverse head and shoulder pattern. That's another FOMC meeting. In the FOMC, when that old guy Powell gets up there and starts talking, he's talking about the bond market. And for people with $20 million to be able to stake that and get $1 million back every year, and this has been going on now for 2 years in a row, that's compound interest. That's adding up, that's building up. These guys are getting rich. Now, here's the key factor. For everybody who missed the last live stream, and this plays directly into how easy it's going to be for Kaspa to flip Ethereum. Kaspa's the new product. Like we just went over, it's written on Rust, or it's getting upgraded to Rust, which means it's built for crypto. Ethereum, it's running on Solidity, because way back in the day, they were just taking the guys that knew how to code. They didn't even know if crypto was going to even work out. Now that they do, there's a huge market for Rust, and a lot of the future developers for Kaspa are currently working on Solana and other Rust programs. You can use CryptoRank, go ahead and start searching out projects running on Rust, and there's a wide variety of them. So here's how the bonds played into Ethereum's rise, and thus will play into Kaspa over toppling it. Right around here through 2018, 2019, then we had lockdowns. All the market makers, all the power players are buying these bonds. They're getting almost 3% return. All of a sudden, there's a monster cliff drop off right here, February 20th, 2020. Guess what happens exactly 1 year later? All of that liquidity gets released onto the market. That was 2020 February. So 2021 of February is directly at the Bitcoin peak. Are you starting to see the correlation here? You see how bonds are directly affecting the crypto market? There is nobody on YouTube who's even mentioned this, who's even talked about it. And this is how it plays into Kaspa. So originally, I come over from the stock market. I've been trained by professionals that you hire, go to the seminars, read every book, done all the courses on stock trading. After the last bull market, I realized, you know what? Crypto's getting me way more gains than the stock market has. I'm going to learn how to do crypto. Because of the understanding of the bond market, watch what happens on the total 3. This is almost spellbinding. Back at that first FOMC meeting at the bottom of the cup, look at this. Boom. Massive drop off right around June 15th. Meanwhile, look at what happens on Kaspa. And that's going to be the same for all your altcoins. They're all dropping down, but not Kaspa. Look what happened to Kaspa, June 10th to June 23rd. It's rocketing to the uprise. And meanwhile, there was like bad news floating around about Kaspa. They were saying, oh yeah, it's going to be KuCoins leaving the United States. So there wasn't anything well on the horizon for Kaspa, but it didn't matter because the insiders, the market makers, it's fair launch. They don't have any Kaspa. They realize how big it's going to be. They want to get their hands on it. Thus, it's correlating to the bond market. Once I made that connection, we had our eyes on multiple crypto. We had just got done shorting AVAX off that bounce on the total 3. We jumped all over Kaspa and we went all in. It wasn't until the cup had formed that we did enough fundamental research to realize Kaspa was going to be a perfect long-term hodl position. Notice this repeating trend line right here in purple, stopping all of this growth, holding price back throughout 2023. And look what just reappeared on the chart. It's the exact same trend line. Just to make one more correlation with bonds, see the spike right here ends on August 27th inside VIP. We knew for a fact on August 28th, the feds are going to do a bond auction. So this means Jane and Jump Street, BlackRock, they're going to take all their cash. They're not going to buy Bitcoin. They're going to go and buy bonds. So ultimately, it would start tilting to the downside. And this is what we're seeing right now. Everybody who's in front of a camera because they have audio video skills yelling, yeah, it's a great time to start buying right now, has no idea about the bond markets. I can tell them that right now because with this liquidity taken out of the market and put into bonds, there's going to be a wait until it gets unlocked. And remember what we just saw in Bitcoin, looking back at that bond market right here, this massive cliff dive, end of February. Everybody's like, oh yeah, the halving is what causes it to spike up. That's half the equation. That supply, but there's also a demand. And with all this currency floating around, unlocked from the bonds, it actually times the top with precision accuracy. And you can time the bottom with precision accuracy. That's how a lowly stock trader has crushed everybody else that's been videotaping their trades. We're up 15%. We shorted AVAX back off that bounce off of the total 3 wall, got a nice double up, and then jumped into Kaspa once we saw how bond reactive it can be. And there's other projects that will react to bonds. So how does this play into the top? How does this help Kaspa crush Ethereum? Because it will. Look at how big this mountain of money is. They're getting 5% yield on it. They probably doubled down twice already. So that's with compounding interest. As this starts to unlock, Powell's about to step up, cut rates back. That means they can't buy bonds anymore. That's why everybody's watching that old guy on TV at the end of the month. They're paying attention to when he's going to lower these rates. We're just getting started, man. This rabbit hole goes much deeper. So with the Ethereum, it's kind of old news. The market makers already have a position in Ethereum. They did it when these bonds unlocked right here. They loaded up on Ethereum. These guys don't think like retail does. They don't think 18 months. These guys think 18 years. They think way down the line. They have a huge bag of Ethereum. This liquidity right here, and we just went over how bond reactive Kaspa is based on that last summer. And every time Powell comes out to speak, it just goes flying off the hill. It's like out of control rocketing, you guys, every time they do an FOMC meeting. Guess what's going to happen with that giant pile of cash finally unlocks? That's right, because Ice River got together with these guys to start lining meme coins, creating more dexes, upping the fees for the miners, putting more stable coins on Kaspa, because as people are trading the Kaspa cats, dogs, and frogs, they're going to use a dex that swaps it into Kaspa right in your Tangem wallet. You're going to be able to do that. That's connecting it to MoonPay, connecting it to Visa. And these guys are small potatoes compared to the KII. We're not even getting into the KII quite yet. They take this to a whole nother dimension with carbon credits. So right now they're thinking about tokenizing carbon credits. The reason being, there's a lack of liquidity in the market. Elon Musk, Tesla, they own tons of carbon credits. They have a hard time selling them. They want retail involved. They're even thinking about doing GameFi, tokenization of these carbon credits so people can play video games on the chain and expend coinage and carbon credits to get it off the hands of these huge businesses that are, of course, hand and foot with BlackRock. And in terms of BlackRock, the Marathon Digital connection to, we'll bring up the Marathon Digital holdings. BlackRock is basically an extension of the FOMC at this point. During the lockdowns and the 2028 housing crisis, it was BlackRock that was working hand in hand with the Fed to balance the bonds, to bring this whole thing together. So BlackRock is very interested in Kaspa. That those FOMC breakouts also show BlackRock's underlying interest. And this tops it off. What we're looking at is the Yahoo Finance for Marathon Digital. Guess who owns 14.61%? Now, of course, Marathon Digital, they're only doing 1% of Kaspa right now, but they're just testing out the waters. They're just getting everything ready to rock and roll. As this starts to advance and roll out, this is the only other project Marathon's ever mined besides Bitcoin. They're just going to start bringing it out even deeper. And the reason being is the KII and the DII with these carbon credits. Look at the size of the carbon credit market. Today, last year, it was bigger than Ethereum. It's $364 billion market cap that can get tokenized. Now, of course, they're not going to put the entire lot on right now. I've already gone over this with ChatGPT. And the Discord is already free, my friend, and the Patreon, it's only $47. I think that you can afford it, and you get more than your money worth. We'll get into what's inside there in a second. This kind of crazy research that we do on here, nobody does research like we do. Everybody comments that. I thought that I had a 4-page report on Spectral, the AI thing. It's actually 7. I mean, we just go over every detail with a fine-tooth comb, re-examine it, and then research everything with a formulated system based on my background in franchising. In order to get the exact same result, you have to use the exact same system over and over again. So we want to make sure that we vet everything. ChatGPT said that it will be 10% at a time. So we're not going to get the entire 300 billion right away. It'll be 10, 15, 20% a year, starting to move into the tokenization of carbon credits. Obviously, you're the market makers right now. You're sitting at a round table with BlackRock and Powell. You yourself own $100 billion in USDT, Tether. You really want to run that on Solana? Do you really want to run that on Ethereum? It's expensive. That's going to cost you money. It's a no-brainer. Kaspa's the best. Hence the fact BlackRock is in. They're already in. They're chumming the water. They're testing everything else. They're building the foundation for Kaspa to flip Ethereum. BlackRock doesn't mess around. This is the top of the food chain all the way. Looking into the DII advisory board, these guys are on another level. So we all know about the KII. These guys are the DII. Forbes magazine doesn't report the wealth of people who live in the Middle East because they're so rich. It's unimaginable. Like, these guys take Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk out. They do. Not just by a bit, by multiples of 100. These guys have the stacks. So this guy right here, the head of the CEO, he's part of loads of projects like this, particularly this one. And what they're doing is they're building an electronic power grid around the Middle East. You guys might have heard on other live streams the Kaspa team talking about KII, and they're talking about metering electricity and stuff like that. There's a very good chance that Kaspa is going to get set up in the Middle East. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to world events, you might have heard BRICS is getting together in a couple weeks to talk about the de-dollarization of the petrodollar. They're just moving away from USD. Nothing personal. They understand this fiat is about to collapse. It can only go on for so long. And they're getting ready to move into blockchain, some type of crypto. There's a project called Quitmir. I believe it was what the DII was originally planning on using. It's also a DAG. That's how I found it. They put the ASICs on top of oil refineries and they run off the excess gas. It didn't get there. They decided to go with Kaspa, knowing that Jonathan and all those guys are the coup d'etat. Taking a look at Bitcoin, with all this liquidity out of the market, we're not going to do a detailed Kaspa chart that's really inside VIP behind paywalls, but looking at Bitcoin, we don't have a lot of support right here. And even if there's another right shoulder right here, it's this golden trend line. This is a repeating trend line, happens over and over again all over the Bitcoin chart. Is the next level of support. And that's all the way down, depending on when it bounces off. 54,000. If things get extremely bearish, we could even test this gravitational field down here, right here. As we tested to the upside, it's also been tested to the downside. We're looking at like a worst case scenario, 47,000. The market's not looking good right now. You saw Warren Buffett sold all his stocks. You know what he's looking at? He's looking at this and a bunch of other bond and macroeconomic stuff. Some of them we have behind paywall inside VIP, just explaining there's nobody that's going to be buying these crypto except for us. So ultimately, they're on the way down. Looking at the repeating trend line system on the total 3 for altcoins, it's looking grisly at best. So there was this falling wedge here. This is how this purple repeating trend line originally got set up. Massive falling wedge. Got very detailed around here. The majority of people thought that in May, Powell did his last rate cut. Oh, this will be altcoin season. Let's buy here. Ridiculous. That's when we actually started shorting. Massive drop off. Jane and Jump Street were selling some of their, I want to say, Robinhood portfolio, their Webull portfolio. It was just a total bloodbath right down here. And then even when we broke out, there was still more downside. This is known as the wick off method. You guys have probably seen wick off bouncing around as a charting system. When you're getting a massive downtrend, you get a bounce and a lateral move. So we haven't even gotten out of the purple trend line yet. And we've known inside VIP, we're going nowhere. The rest of the internet's like, oh, look at these deals. Even Alex Becker. I saw his video. Did you guys see him the other day? Mad respect to that guy. Very smart kid. His specialty, a lot like Kaspa Silver, is in understanding cryptos deeply. Understanding macroeconomics in general is just as important. Knowing that, in VIP, we knew all the way back here. We had the post up like, no way it breaks over here. In fact, exactly on August 28th, exactly, because there was a bond auction, it's going to dump. And we're nowhere near even testing this trend line again right now. So things are looking grisly at best. Kaspa, it acts on its own. It's got a mind of its own. It can do anything at any time. So never count Kaspa out. We're in this repeating x-axis downward trend line, and it seemed like we were moving lateral. So people probably thought it was hard to believe we are actually in this x-axis. They probably thought it was some sort of a coincidence. It's not. We just fell to the underside of it. And as this candle starts to push back up, there's a very good chance that this x-axis that we use to time this breakout to the upside would be holding it back as resistance. And we can stay on the underside of it. A history of this x-axis, it's everywhere on Kaspa. It just keeps repeating itself over and over again. And every crypto chart does this. They're so much different from stocks because they have these strict emission and having schedules. Look at that. Just cutting right down. Then finally, we start to get bucking out and free. Combining this with your technical analysis classic patterns, now you can get a whole new level of read. Example, in VIP, we got everybody in cold storage right here at 11.5. That's a good price, and it's almost dead on the bottom. Then we loaded everybody up in 7x leverage trades at 12.25 and 13.3, and those survived the carry wick down. They made it. You entered those trades exactly as instructed. You could still have them open after that massive wick. Of course, we also noted that there was a head and shoulder. This is how important technical analysis is. We noted that there was a head and shoulder pattern forming right around that FOMC meeting. And we were like, uh-oh, guys, this is not good. This is the power of technical analysis charting. It's so under talked about. People are like, yeah, we're just going to DCA. We're all going to DCA. And when it comes time to take our profit, which is the most important and underemphasized place because we have the least amount of practice with taking profit. We've been rehearsing buying so many times over. Taking profit is the most important. And yes, of course, dollar cost averaging 3 or 4 separate bags along the way is mathematically going to give you the best results, but using technical analysis in combination with these repeating trend lines is absolutely the best way to go. I'll show you guys how prominent this is. This is almost spellbinding when you see how accurate this gets on a micro level with the Fibonacci pitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up 2 of these repeating x-axis trend lines, grab an angled Fibonacci pitch. And this is like, it's going to show every dividend that we get lines up. Of course, this is a messy Fibonacci, but there we go. Every dividend that we get is going to line up with the Fibonacci pitch. As you straighten it out. I mean, it's really spellbinding. You can do that on your own, but I mean, it's out of this world. And we get that on Bitcoin as well with varied ones like this, for example. This actually can help us find the exact top. So this is the y-axis support line. Candle's been bouncing off it all along here, bouncing all along here. As you zoom in, there's even more detail on it. This purple retreating trend line and this broadening wedge pattern, they both repeat. This was the 2021 top, utilizing that purple broadening wedge pattern. Now there's more money out there, so there's a good chance we're going to be on the top side. That line is right around $116,000 at the end of 2025. And we can use an angled Fibonacci pitch to help gauge different levels of how high this can go, as well as this right here. There's a good chance we stop out here or even right around here at 150. So that y-axis Fibonacci angle is stopping at 150. When we zoom forward and look at this, there's a great chance that's going to stop the candle. Another example of this on the Kaspa chart, getting this one out of the way, is our simple y-axis. So we had this plotted all the way back from even pre-cup handle, right around when the handle was forming. We had this y-axis in black Fibonacci tool set up as it correlates exactly with the April peak, gets the maximum contact points, just like when you're setting up any trend line. The more contact points you get, the stronger the trend line. That's how you confirm where the real trend lines are at. Counting contact points. This Fibonacci pitch has the most contact points. Fast forward, you can watch the old videos from this summer. Fast forward to November breakout, it suddenly catches the top of the candle. So we had this set up based on the handle of the cup, and the April breakout, it turns around and it sets up all of these peaks in a row, showing that this is actually a version of the power law. The power law is like mapping it out on a globe. This is like a globe map, as you guys have probably seen those before. It's just a different way to look at the power law. It gives much better reads, in my opinion. So, as these bonds unlock, it's on like Donkey Kong. There's so much cash out there right now. Looking into the market cap of, this is where Ethereum's at right now. Let's look at XRP, all-time high. XRP all-time high is $5. Here's the thing. This is so crucial. XRP was based off of this bond pump. We already showed how accurate that was. Remember in the Bitcoin chart? Let me refresh this page. Exactly here on the first spike on Bitcoin, February 25. That could be considered, with a degree of accuracy, the tippy top. It's precisely 1 year after the bonds unlock. Look at how many bonds are locked up right now. It's double, 2.5 times, plus they're earning more yield, compound. That's going to roll out and do way more than XRP. It's going to just completely explode to the upside because the market makers are going to stuff their pockets because they know everything that we just explained. Solana spearheading the path, getting all the coders ready for Rust. Rust beats Solidity. These projects like Ethereum, they're old news. They're what worked at the time. People didn't know how big crypto was going to get, but they do now. Yes. SW says, we need more good Kaspa channels like you. One of the biggest setbacks has been audio video. It takes a massive skill set in order to get this information out to everybody in a timely fashion. And I've noticed a lot of the Peach Fuzz Mafia, as we call them, bless their soul. They're passionate about crypto. They figured out Kaspa's where it's at. They are trained in audio video. And that helps them get their content out there. So it's up to you guys to hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, share this on your Twitter account, share it with your friends, share it in chat, talk about this channel because we take it to the next level here. Remember, we can back it up. We're the only guy that can say we made more cash than everybody else, not just in the Kaspa section, but market wide. And it's not just because we got in early. It was because of our skill set in utilizing bonds. Shorting on the total 3. And it's that same skill set that's telling us Kaspa's going to go meteoric this bull run. People don't know how off the chains it's about to become. There's perfect storm scenarios. Certain political parties have agents inside right now on both sides that are ready to rock and roll with. On the Democrat side, it's people from used to work in Google. On the Republican side, it's people that are connected with Peter Thiel in the PayPal mafia. So there's agents on both sides ready to go because they understand this bond market is going to pop off. Stocks are going to go flying. Venezuela, all these third world countries, right before they collapse completely, what happens? Their stock market goes crazy. That's happening in the United States right now. Right now. With a terrible economy, it's like, how are the stocks still ripping to the upside? And of course, it's all led by 7 companies. All of them are in on AI. Now, we didn't name the channel because we like investing in AI. We use AI as a tool. That tool also showed us that AI is going to be a very strong performer this year. So the people that you roll with in your circle, as the saying goes, create the sum of who you become. I moved into this $1 million condo on the Vegas Strip, and there are super rich guys, investment bankers, guys who built the first ASICs on Bitcoin, circuit board engineers, guys who own exchanges overseas. The guy who invented auto-tuned and got like Tiger and all those rappers started, he lives in this building. They're getting out of California, Silicon Valley, to avoid taxes. So they hang out in Vegas. They got a beautiful penthouse, dwarfing mine, rock and roll. So I get to work out with these guys in the gym, hit the sauna, hit the coffee room. It's awesome. Rubbing shoulders with these guys. Somebody put me on the phone with a dude who speaks on CNBC about money all the time. I can't drop his name because I didn't ask him permission. I had all my questions ready, and he just took over the conversation. And this was like 180 days ago. And he says, the future crypto market is going to be dominated by artificial intelligence. Right now, countries and businesses, this oligarchy, are combining themselves together to try to build sentient AI, and they're throwing money hand over fist at it. Hand over fist. Because once they get that, that's world domination. They have everything they need. That's the tool that they're trying to get their hands on. In the stock market, it's been dominating. Those 7 companies, they're all invested in artificial intelligence. NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Apple. That's coming over to crypto. It is going to go way deeper than Tau. We research tons of artificial intelligence projects, write out these extremely lengthy reports inside VIP. This one's on Spectral. It's my biggest side bag. When you go through systematically researching, we thought Blender was going to be good. That's an AI project. It wasn't until we got to step 14 we realized it's bunk. When we get to the consensus algorithm mechanism, we started realizing this project is going nowhere. But we finished the report anyway, just to give an example on how you can find more about a project when you do a deep dive. You remember that ICP guy who used to do fairly decent 20-minute reviews on projects? That's not good enough. And his performance has covered it. You have to systematically comb through everyone, checking each detail, no matter how mundane it is. To help people do that, we have 84 copy-paste questions that you can stick right into Agent GPT or even Super Chat GPT. It'll pull up links, give you independent thought, take you a couple hours, but you'll absorb a lot on the project. We've got over half a dozen of them already done. 2 of them are for projects that aren't even listed yet. One of them is the GameFi hit of the year. When this GameFi project comes online, I'm saving some cash for it because it's going to rocket off the chart. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you guys. It's been super fun. We started on a cell phone, audio, video, all of it's terrible. Just recording our trades, showing everybody, trying to get the word out there. Don't go long yet, because finding the bottom is one of the most important things. So it was right here in May. Even Crypto Banter was saying it's altcoin season, go long. And we started uploading before that because we had been planning a big short on that FOMC meeting. That's one of the things we cover a lot inside VIP. When there is an FOMC meeting, we read all the numbers together. The CPI, they've been hiding coffee lately, doing all these sneaky things, looking over all the data, crunching it to figure whether it's going to be bullish or bearish, and then use technical analysis to see how the market's reacting. We've caught plenty of fake outs. We even had that head and shoulder pattern, which helped everybody set a stop loss before the last black swan event that nobody could see coming. Even Grandmaster trader Gareth Soloway didn't see that black swan event with the Bank of Japan. So if anybody felt like they dropped the ball with that, nobody saw it coming. It was just coming out of nowhere. So don't let it hold you back. Stay positive. Stay in the right mind frame. A great mental exercise that I do every night is draw the Kaspa chart in my mind like a chess player. They can play chess with their eyes closed. Right when you started buying Kaspa, start doing the drawing and just going over what's market sentiment, what's happening. Draw it out clearly in your mind, and then start drawing into the future as well in different market scenarios. Practice that every night before you go to sleep is a trick that I've been doing for over a year now. Okay, guys. So I think that we got everything out there. Does anybody have any questions that they want to launch out about Kaspa? The macroeconomics that are breaking down right now as we speak. Look at the total 3. We're behind this repeating trend line. And this is a support line that repeats itself too. You can see this in a couple different spots. See that right there? The repeating trend line system. Because crypto has a strict emission and halving schedule, it creates these shock waves on the chart. Obviously, we know every 4 years it's going to create a shock wave to the top. This is much more detailed with the repeating trend line system. And right now, the total 3 just looks devastated. So for the next up and coming bull run, see right now, Kaspa still, it's like a caterpillar. Hasn't even gone to 10 blocks per second yet. Doesn't even have smart contracts out. There's just that kinetic energy, that potential energy ready to get unlocked. by 2023? Let's get a direct calculation here. Of Ethereum, we're going to compare it to, let's do Solana, since we based this episode on Solana. We'll do Solana right now, and we have to factor in the bonds. No, this can't be right. We got to do Ethereum. Yeah. Getting to where Ethereum's been at its all-time high, we're getting into double digits, at least in 2030, starting to touch base with double digits, undoubtedly. And a lot of this isn't coming from the tech. Of course, they need a lot of things to happen to keep the ball moving in their direction. Right now, it's all potential energy. Things have to happen. The smart contracts need to roll out. Marathon Digital, they can increase their stake in Kaspa. That would help out a lot. The KII, they start tokenizing carbon credits on this. It can go way beyond this. We're just dealing with a conservative, worst case scenario. The key factor is the bonds. Remember, they were printing so much money during lockdowns. That comes into a factor. And just like in Venezuela and these third world countries, as their fiat system gets wrecked, their stock market goes through the roof. That's exactly what crypto is. Most of these projects, we all know, vaporware, right? It's all vaporware. A lot of it doesn't have that real use case. It's acting as a stash house against inflation for the market makers. There is an aspect of tulip mania with a lot of the projects. Kaspa is not a tulip mania project. Kaspa is a real use case. Kaspa is an innovative technology, groundbreaking, like the Pentium to the regular computers. It's the next level of evolution. And we can see that with the businesses ready to enhance their already existing models. So often people forget what a commodity is and they think, oh, well, Kaspa is going to do carbon credits. I don't want anything to do with that. That's shady. Kim Jong-un could use Kaspa to keep track of his people. It's just a commodity. Like the gold wiring in the atomic bomb, it has nothing to do with the nuclear program. And these businesses, the KII and the DII, look at these guys on the DII. These guys don't play. These guys have power. These guys have money. These guys have influence. BlackRock, Marathon Digital. This isn't a clown around project. This is the real deal. They're going to use this. Right now, BRICS is getting ready to start de-dollarizing the US dollar. Good. BlackRock they go hand in hand with the FOMC since the 2008 financial crash. So the key factor here is all this printing money, and it's going to go into Kaspa, and it already has. It's already been the most reactive to FOMC meeting and bonds of all of the cryptos. Right here on June 1st, there was a bond auction here. I guess the market makers decided they weren't going to buy bonds. They'd rather buy Kaspa. That's what this massive jump to the upside was. You can look at other projects and they didn't get that much upside. Some of them did that are slightly bond reactive. And looking back at these FOMC meeting dates and then seeing how high a project jumped up is a great way to add an additional layer of vetting. That's how I beat everybody else in the market, was understanding the correlation of FOMC, bonds, market makers, what's going on behind the scenes with money, hence the icon, the picture of money. knowing what projects would be good. I had no idea about Kaspa, BlockDAG, nothing. It was all over my head. I didn't even read up about it, but I already knew based on technical analysis as well as the FOMC meeting. It was going completely against the grain back here this summer. Everything else was rocketing or dumping, excuse me, right here. That was when Kaspa was curling up. Everything was dumping hard too. It was dumping hard. Jane and Jump Street was unloading their bag. Simultaneously, Kaspa is rocketing up, which is showing, because it's fair launch, the VCs want to get their hands on it. Great question. 2024 all-time high. Combining technical analysis, repeating trend lines. I'll show you the entire model right now on Bitcoin, and then we'll break it down into Kaspa. Just otherwise, it will seem odd to you because Bitcoin can be back tested. It will make more sense. See this broadening wedge pattern here with the repeating trend lines? This golden trend line, this repeats itself all over. We'll see a lot of these on Kaspa too. It's here. It's here. When you zoom in, it hits off even better. It's this upward price channel here. That golden trend line is all over the place. This purple trend line, this is something different. This is a breakout trend line. And it forms a broadening wedge here. This isn't necessarily a bullish pattern or a bearish pattern. A broadening wedge, similar to a symmetrical triangle, is very receptive to market sentiment overall. Of course, right here we had lockdowns, but this purple breakout trend line eventually acts as resistance. Remember that date, February 21st? That was the exact cliff drop date on the bonds right here. A year later, these are the 1-year bonds. That liquidity is all flowing into risk on assets, crypto. You can time it like a glove, and you can use this like we just did inside VIP on a much more day-to-day, every month basis. Right here, there's a post in VIP started way back here saying, well, on August 28th, there might be a quick spike on Kaspa based on that June 1st bond thing, but ultimately, August 28th, there's a bond auction. Everything's going to go down. Liquidity is going to be drained out of the market. That's going to be the start of some recessionary flexing. Guess what happens? Within 24 hours of our prediction, the entire market turns around and drops to the downside. Of course, you can combine this with technical analysis, and now you're really smart, right? Because you got that repeating trend line in purple. But you can do it without even looking at a chart. We just looked at the Fed auction calendar, August 28th. They're buying that for 5%. That's going down. So anyway, back to the peak price. So we got these broadening wedges, same exact two trend lines. Again, this time we're getting a lot of, we'll call it gravitational field to the downside and then to the upside as well. It's pushing its barriers. As we crawl up to late fall of 2025, this line's at around 120. Of course, you can use an angled Fibonacci tool and start to get a variance of read here. We have a moment, so we're going to actually do this because this gets kind of spooky. When we go ahead and we put this angled Fibonacci down right here, and what we want to do is parallel it up with the most contact points. Just like you're finding any trend line, you're looking for maximum contact points at any time. So we'll go ahead and zoom in on the 1 hour, straighten this chart out, and we'll see that within wiggle room, we're not going to make it completely perfect, but it's indefinitely stopping on this golden pocket right here. There's good contact, maximum contact point, and then hitting on here. What happens when you zoom out that makes this really spooky? We go to the 1 day. Guess where the top of this whole pitch is? It's exactly on the other purple trend line. So as well as that fits in there, this somehow meets that. kind of like we showed back in Kaspa on that other thing. Now, here's it on Kaspa. There's breakout trend lines here that also repeat themselves. Starting back in April. I'm trying to find it. I have it on image. Nope, we'll have to draw it from scratch. So starting from April, it's going to be easier to draw right here. And we're looking for this breakout right here. We're going to get it to a science right there. Yep. Okay. When you clone this trend line, we'll make this more visible. What you see is it will fit exactly in the breakout trend line of April, just like on Bitcoin, there was two of them. And then when you start running into the deep end here of 2025, you start finding this is late fall of 2025 for that first line, $1.50, but the original April one up here at $2.50. Of course, just like on Bitcoin, you can also place an angled Fibonacci on it. So I'm thinking 2025, worst case scenario, we're $1.50 based off of that. To the upside, a lot of it depends on how much fundamentals these guys get done, how much they roll out with the meme coins, etc. There's an X factor, though. This technical analysis might just get crumpled up and tossed out. There can be parabolic breaks to the upside because of the size of the bond market. This is going to be 2.5 times the size of the last bull run in explosive growth, just based on bonds alone, not mentioning the popularity of crypto. So it's really any numbers game. This is the key to price predictions, because I know you want to get the exact point to sell. Everybody always thinks of x-axis, which is price. It's far more easy to find the y-axis, when. X-axis can be so varied. We just went over 30 different ways that we can try to predict the x-axis, and being a year out to tell someone you know how high it's going to be is a definite approximation. What you can target with far more accuracy, most of us are already committed. We already have a huge bag of Kaspa, or we're going to get one on the up and coming low. When that peak's going to take place, so you can maximize your profit, and utilizing a combination of this bond chart and technical analysis, we'll be able to pinpoint when the top is in with a far better degree of accuracy than how high is it going to go. Factoring in all of how receptive it is to the bond market. Remember that image of Kaspa and the FOMCs? We've got to realize that it's going to be one of the most bullish projects in 2025. As that giant pile of cash starts unlocking, it doesn't matter what code's written on, how many dApps are going. Well, it does to a certain extent, but the far more powerful factor is these bonds. And they've been piling in super reactively to Kaspa. A lot of projects aren't getting that added liquidity. They don't have the fair launch narrative. They don't have the BlackRock connection. So utilizing that, we know Kaspa, one of our best bets, specifically in the top 100, hands down. And timing when is going to give us a much better time to take price as opposed to how high. Think about gauging when. You get a much more accurate amount. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have it all lined out. I have to put some of this behind the paywall. I can't just dump all that VIP has out on this, but there's some stuff that could be going on, may not happen in macroeconomics that can give us some good discounts on Kaspa's price. And we also have good technical analysis to understand where that's going to go. I wouldn't buy Kaspa right now. I wouldn't buy anything right now. We're in the beginning of a recession. A lot of creators will go out there and be like, yeah, let's buy these, let's buy those. There are a few and far between projects, specifically GameFi doesn't get affected as much by the bonds. It kind of has its own niche. There's some projects you could buy at a discount low, but it's going to be a minute. The market's taking a massive breather now, and people looking at the total 3 were thinking, okay, we finally took a beating. We're done now. We're going to be okay. No, you're on the ground right now, and the market is going to come over and kick you right now. You know that guy on the spectrum there, Jerry Banter? Let's look at his ICP pick. I mean, just as an example. And hats off, respect to him for stepping away because he's just wrong. He did that 20-minute research, and what did he do? He did it off the top of his head. So you guys, you could buy the 24-point system, the 84-point checklist, or at least however you're doing it at home, start making your own trading journal. Writing everything down. You got to be systematic. This is a zero-sum game. Imagine that we're playing poker. And we're playing against guys, online poker, that have computer robots recording every hand and every bet you made. That's who we're playing poker against right now. The market makers. Having some insight, like we clued you guys in on this with the bond market, that gets your foot in the door. That rabbit hole goes way deeper. It's beyond FOMC meetings. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Looking at ICP, how ugly is that chart? Not to mention, he went all in and pulled the trigger when? Back in May, when everybody thought it was altcoin season. Meanwhile, we were shorting because Powell just raised the rates. Obviously, he's raising the rates. That means they're going to pay people more to buy bonds. So they're not going to buy crypto. They're going to buy bonds. I don't know how out of the mind people were that were buying crypto right here. They just didn't know. And the reason why people that did well in the last cycle, a lot of them are trying to get information out to you that's just bunk. It's just rubbish, nonsense. Like a pitcher who goes up and pitches a winning game because he's wearing a pair of red socks, who thinks the red socks are what caused it, has nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's got way more to do with macroeconomics and bonds. Warren Buffett just dumped his whole portfolio. What do you think is going to happen when the stock market crashes? Like it's about to. You see that bond chart we were looking at? That affects stocks too. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's way more studies into that which show it's bad news, man. It's bad news on the horizon. But for those of us who know, we can take advantage of this. So it's good. My price prediction straight up, I'm going with $4.40. I went through the technical analysis and the breakout lines a lot. I'm pretty sure it's $4. One key fact that we want to utilize whenever we're taking profit or even buying, forget about round numbers. So people are talking about 1, 5. Those no longer exist. Solomon, this guy is a Kaspa OG. He was in way back in the day. back at the bottom of the cup, I remember specifically how excited he was with Kaspa. And I was like, okay, everybody's in on Kaspa. Everybody's excited about it. This guy is an OG. Let's see what he's got to say. Great stuff. Can you use the GAN fan as origin trend lines? Plus, do you think the Japanese interest rate could cancel the bull market? Solomon, that is the question of the day because you started to teeter into VIP. So, yeah, we have a post about the carry trade. It's one small post inside VIP. I can let you know about it. They could raise rates again. And there's an entire house of cards built around the Japanese yen after World War II. People are going to Japan, borrowing money, and then investing in the United States market like we just saw this massive flash crash to the downside. The S&P 500 has already recovered, Solomon. And that's mainly what the Japanese are looking at is the stock market. They're not so interested in crypto. Therefore, they absolutely could, as well as they really don't even need to. The history of rate cuts, we think this is going to be good. They just cut rates. There's such a time effect, like a slow burn on that. It's not bullish right away. Looking into the 2019 Bitcoin chart, we can see the last time that the Fed was cutting rates. And guess what happened? I'll show you right now. Scrolling back to 2019. So this ramp up right here, this was the hype before the rate cuts. Everybody was getting excited, like the market just recently saw. Right around here, this was the first rate cut. Boom. This was the second, Solomon. This was the third. You see what happened? They're dumping on FOMC meetings, bro. So we're not buying in VIP, and this goes beyond 2019 Bitcoin. Of course, crypto's newer, so we started looking into the stock market to get more information. We're seeing every time they've been cutting rates, the stock market does the same thing. It moves downward and sideways. And then this, of course, is right when the lockdown event started happening, and then this was lockdowns. So it was starting to rally, getting ready to break out to the upside, and then there was an additional hazard. So it can absolutely step up, and that's happening this month, parallel with the United States one, and it also doesn't even need to. These flash crashes are really tough to take advantage of because there's a very restricted amount of volume that gets picked up right here. So you really got to set open orders if you want to try to catch it. And there's some projects that will recover faster than others. Kaspa, yeah, it had a nice healthy dip and a good recovery. Meanwhile, inside VIP, we were looking for projects that would specifically, and we're going to get into Japan and a Kaspa in a second because there's a very coincidental connection there. We were looking for projects that would recover fast. We got Spectral, the Polychain Capital AI. It went from $5.20 to $8. It was one of the top 5 swing trades for 10 million and under. And we also did Matrix Fire. It was always holding $1, dropped all the way down to 45 cents. We loaded up, and that went back to $1. So not only have we been crushing the market for the past 400 days, just off of this dip to the downside, we had 2 of the top 5 swing trades market-wide and VIP. The weird thing is, Kaspa was just in Japan 30 days before the carry trade happened. And that seems like it's almost more than a coincidence to me. You guys remember hearing that? It's right on the Kaspa main webpage. Kaspa in Japan doing an AMA 30 days before the carry trade. Of course, Kaspa, they've got connections to the big dogs now, BlackRock and all this stuff. So who knows if that's a coincidence or if there was some more underhanded action going on there. That was the question of the day. That was a great question. So I hope that helps you out with your trading. No, I don't. I have a very restricted portfolio, and I advise people to utilize more of a restricted portfolio. We do 24-point reports on the best of Alex Becker's AI picks, Desync Destra. We have a full breakdown on that so you can understand it tip to toe. We've got Spectral. We've got DEAI, which is another AI project. And then we have some secret projects that aren't even listed yet. So I own some of those. I own Spectral and I own DEAI. I don't own any Destral, but we give people opportunities to grab them at discount prices. It's also an exercise in charting. Pal AI is another one that we've been charting recently. It had a massive double top, which we posted inside. This is an Alex Becker pick. So extremely popular. Everybody wants to get on the Alex Becker picks. We can see it much clearer on the 4-hour. There was this clear as day double top right here that we highlighted, and we were like, yeah, this is indefinitely going to have some massive downside. And it's been continuing to sell off ever since then. There was this rally to the upside. It looks like another almost, I don't know what that is, but just more bearish action. We're also looking into Tau. Tau is a project with so much depth. It's extremely complicated, and a lot of it has to do with the entire subnets. And the reason why this downslope has been happening is because of the subnets. And I want to tie this in with your question, Ruben, about diversification, and I'm going to in a second. This is a great example of the x-axis repeating trend lines with a Fibonacci pitch. So as soon as this breakout starts, we've got our repeating x-axis trend line spaced out flawlessly with the Fibonacci tool. Amazing stuff. We've got the gravitational field here. And this top marked by Tau has everything to do with subnets. So this is very fundamentally driven. It used to be 2,500 subnets would be burned to open 2,500 Tau would be burned to open a subnet. And they had a limited amount of subnets that you could do. Then they changed it to 1,000. And once they changed it, it started this downside right around here. And they're keeping this very behind closed doors. They switched it again from 1,000. Now it's only 100. And they're going to open it up to a mass array of subnets. This rabbit hole goes super deep. I don't own any Tau because I don't want to commit the time to unpacking the entire subnet package in enough detail for me to feel comfortable about it. If anybody wanted to, we have the systems to make sure that you'll get everything. It's going to take a load of time and a lot of reading. This 7-page report on Spectral doesn't include the links. With the links, you're talking about a 25, 30-page report. And we have 7 of these on artificial intelligence. So it's hefty reading. Now, the reason why we're anti-diversification, an example is Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Every year at Berkshire Hathaway, they get out and they make fun of people who went to financial school that are teaching diversification. Mark Cuban openly says, yeah, diversification is for idiots. It's a way to hedge against your own stupidity. Eventually, the amount of money that you can save and put into Kaspa at this point, my Kaspa bag at all-time highs was over $300,000. We pulled back a little bit down from that. I can only save a couple bucks a month. So I'm not even able to put 1% into Kaspa. So because of this, now I'm forced to diversify. I have to. It's not going to make any difference, 1% a month, right? We can agree on that. So now I'm diversifying into these artificial intelligence plays, looking forward into the beginnings of the bull market. By then, hopefully, those AI plays will have matured enough where I won't be able to take my savings amount and increase my position enough so I can then start another position. Does that make sense? Just maximizing on the best play that can be found. There's one correct answer. It was Kaspa over the past 400 days. When we entered into Kaspa, everybody online except for Galaxy, John, and Kaspa Silver was saying, well, you're late. It's already shot up way too much. It's not going to shoot up anymore. Between 1 and 2 cents. They're like, do not do it. You are a fool. Fast forward, it's 2 years in a row the best performing, and we've explained why in detail from a macroeconomic standpoint in this video. Hands down. So yeah, no diversification. Would I like to own them all? Yeah, but for my own money management style and to make my portfolio as dynamic as possible, I'm loading up into the 2 AI plays, and then we've got up and coming listings vetted in these reports that should be getting dropped, I would imagine, late fall or early winter of 2025. And one of them is the best GameFi game you can ever play. Have you guys actually played the GFAL games? If you own GFAL, you got to play the games. There are those card collecting games. They're like Pokemon with animation. That's all they are. They're not super fun. These game that we found is amazing. And everybody online, not crypto, but the gamer people, they're getting super pumped up about it. They're like, oh, this game is going to rock. And they're making videos about it, not as an investment, as something they're going to do in their basement as nerds. So it's like, whoa, whole different ballpark of gaming. And of course, as we get into the team, the code, the strategic partners, I mean, these guys are on the front line with Apple. The team has worked with Apple hand in hand, putting apps on their store. So it's, I mean, it is the game. This guy likes Tal. He's done deep dive research into it. It's great. It would have been awesome to have gotten to Tal way down here, somewhere under Polychain Capital. Great VC. We have a list of the top 30 performing VCs, because it's always good to check the VC that's behind your project. You want quality VCs. There are some that are shady, right? There's some that are run by maybe YouTubers, stuff like that. Yeah, probably not as good as the ones that are run by people with connection with Apple or Polychain Capital. I like Spectral as opposed to Tau. It's under 100 million market cap. And guess what? It's very reactive to bond markets, both positively and negatively. It's artificial intelligence. It's a good project. If you want to test your research skills or measure them, or a great idea would be do your absolute deepest dive research on Spectral before joining VIP, and then read the report that we have and see everything that you missed. Or if you found anything extra, let me know, but I'm pretty sure we got it all. This is an interesting point by Mr. Miles, and I want to expand upon it because it actually has a lot to do with the talk that we were doing in the beginning about meme coins, Solana's success as a legacy crypto that's been rocking. So one of these articles here is talking about all the DEXs that are running Solana. And so these meme coins are ripping to the upside. Stable coins are coming out on Solana. For Kaspa, as the ecosystem grows. Exactly. There can be like a Trader Joe's for Kaspa, right? And like a Joe token on there for people to do swaps right on that DEX. Things along that nature is exactly what Mr. Miles is saying. And he has an exceptional point with that. People are like, I'd like to invest in Kaspa, but I don't want to get into the meme coins. Remember, in order to facilitate these meme coins, there's going to have to be a whole nother layer of projects and protocols invented, and you can get in on that action, which will probably end up being a better investment long-term on average anyway. So thanks for that point. That's very good. Okay, guys, we've been running on a lot over time now. We're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for joining the live stream. Make sure that you share this video. Let everybody know where the good research is coming from. Kaspa particularly is being dominated by people with audio, video skills, not trading skills. We have crushed everybody over the past 400 days doing this style of research. Make sure the word gets out there just so everybody can up their bottom line. Study the bond market, study macroeconomics, keep notes of everything you've got, and join the VIP discount, $47. You get loads of stuff. We've got pattern directories, videos on the repeating trend line systems, up-to-date posts like that. How out of this world was that snag on the total 3 where we said August 28th, the entire market would rip to the downside? There's nobody online doing these kind of call outs. Our VIP group is about putting these skills in your hands. So you're going to be the David Copperfield making these magic call outs, looking into the futures, super friendly price. We'll catch you guys on the next one.